How much money does Greece have right now?
Well, we don't really know for sure how much money they have, but our best guess is not too much, because the last two payments they've had to make to the IMF have been paid by tapping its own reserves at the IMF, and also by calling in funds from other government departments within Greece.
David, how long can Greece continue then to negotiate with its creditors?
Really, the big crunch time for Greece is going to be the middle of July. Greece has a huge payment to the ECB of 3.5 billion euros on the 20th of July, and they're going to be unlikely to make that payment without outside help. So that's when the time is really going to run out for Greece.
David, speaking a little bit more about timing, Greece typically gets a surge of tax receipts in July, and that gives a boost to the Treasury's bank balance. But is that going to be too little and too late to help?
Well, we don't know for sure, but in all likelihood that would be too late, as receipts tend to come in towards the end of the month, and that payment is due on the 20th of July. With the IMF, there's some wiggle room for delaying the payment by a couple of weeks, but if they miss that July 20th payment to the ECB on the bond that they hold, they'll be in default as of the next day. So the real problem for Greece is those receipts may, as you said, be coming in too late.
David, should we be reading between the lines today? Prime Minister Tsipras' comments, is he drawing a line in the sand?
I would say his comments, well, when you first look at them, they sound encouraging, saying they're almost ready to make a deal. If you dig a little bit deeper, they don't sound so encouraging. He said, we're ready to make concessions, basically, as long as you agree to everything we want. He mentioned debt restructuring, he mentioned financing for the future, which essentially means a third bailout package, and a lower primary surplus. So those are all very sticky points for euro area creditors. So to me, that didn't sound all that encouraging.
David, where is Germany in all of this? The Chancellor Angela Merkel, she had been firm that Greece needs to undertake, or at least stick to, the austerity agreements that it had made in the prior government before Mr. Tsipras took power, and that Greece could not continue to rely on international creditors, including Germany, to keep pumping money into it if it wasn't going to make the needed structural reforms. What has Germany been saying about this as of late?
That's right. Well, to a certain extent, Germany speaks with two voices in these negotiations. There's the finance minister, Wolfgang Schäuble, who's really been the hardline voice within Germany that Greece, the present government, live up to the commitments of previous governments. And Angela Merkel, by and large, has maintained the same line, but she has a slightly softer stance, and she's really committed to keeping the euro area together. So while she does want compromise, or I should say concessions from Greece, she's probably a bit more willing to compromise than her finance minister. And at the end of the day, she'll be calling the shots.
Do we have a sense of what international investors are thinking? Are they seeing chances for some resolution, or do they think that Greece might in fact default?
Well, if you look at bond yields, or if you look at surveys in the media, clearly people are increasingly worried about that possibility of a Greek default. And in reality, as the timeline gets closer and there is no deal just yet, of course, the chance of a default is rising.
David, what are the chances that the Greek government then might issue IOUs in order to avoid default?
Well, that's been something that's been discussed quite a bit. People often point to Argentina as a government that issued IOUs, but the reality is in Argentina they didn't last very long, meaning it only bought about 6 months of time, and in Greece it would probably even buy much less time. It's unlikely that that people would accept them for a very long period, and it would really just be the start of a barter economy. So that would do nothing more than perhaps buy the Greek government a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months at the very, very most.